Hello and welcome back to the Cronecast at the Rising Moon. Hey guys, today I have a spirit mediumship read for you. What spirits are around you and what are they trying to help you with? What are the spirits around you trying to help you with? We're featuring the Chinese 5 Elements Oracle by Vicky Iskandar. I interviewed her for my podcast. By the rules of YouTube, I do need to let you know I was given the deck, but I don't get anything if you purchase it. There will be a link to purchase the deck in the description box down below. I highly recommend it. I'm already loving it. It's been very on point indeed. We have 4 piles and a pick a card. Full disclosure, these particular cards will not really have a bearing on the reading. I shuffled for them, but I rejected 2 because of the darkness of the image. And the Making Magic Oracle cards that Market actually were shuffled for and will have a bearing on the reading. But these are just little images to see which calls out to you. You're gonna have a moment here with the cards to see which one calls out to you, which one really stands out to you. That will be the message that you are most meant to receive. This is one of the readings where more than one pile and potentially all of them might actually apply. So whatever you feel called to, take a moment, see which one really calls out to you. I'll see you at the time of your reading. Welcome back. If you chose pile number 1, this is your reading. We're putting the number 1 over there so people can easily fast forward to their reading, but there are timestamps in the description box down below as always. The only deck I use for spirit mediumship is the steampunk deck. It has a lot of shadow images on it. It just worked really well for looking into the spirit realm for me. So this is the card that was marking your pile. You are in co-creation with the universe. Please remember that the further you lean into the idea that everything that is brought to you is trying to help you accomplish something rather than doing something to you, the more quickly everything will begin to come into alignment to bring you your best outcomes. And then here's your Making Magic card, which is achievement. Win the award, accolade, or contract. It looks very much like this is one of, you've got spirits around you trying to help you with your profession, potentially with your purpose. They're not really interchangeable concepts. Some people end up working in their purpose, some people do not. But it is trying to, it's like almost like there's a muse energy around who and what's trying to guide you. Let's try again. Whenever I'm doing spirit mediumship, I have to have a protection spell burning, which I do. It has to be anointed with very particular conjure oils. I'll have to clear in between with a sound bowl and a selenite wand. And please keep in mind, spirit reading, spirit mediumship is the most likely form of divination to attract attachments, because tricksters are really, really drawn to it because it's very good about being able to manipulate our emotions. So whenever you're doing any form of spiritual connection, half the demonic entity removal work that I do has to do with what people accidentally brought into their homes via like Ouija boards, spirit boards, that sort of thing, and divination sometimes. All right, so the first one that fell out is actually the Ace of Wands in the upright. Let's see what we've got going here first. Oh, guys, before I get started, please don't forget to subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button if you like the reading. If you want to book me for a private reading, you can do that exclusively through attherisingmoon.com, which is linked in the description box down below. I'm going to be using an infinity spread here. Oh, I have a podcast called Logical Magic, examining esoterica as well. Ace of Wands in the upright, 10 of Wands in the upright, the Hanged Man in reverse, and the Page of Swords in the upright. So let's get going with our infinity spread here. This is not so much like a departed relative. It is a form of ancestral magic that is made available to you. Part of the reason I wanted to tie into the 5 Elements deck is whenever we're doing spirit mediumship, ancestor work is very, very likely. And here, spoiler alert, elemental magic, regardless of what era your ancestors lived in, and remember, these are people beyond your remembering, beyond your ability to conjure them in your own mind. You are tied to those throughout history, and the elements are present in every form of magical expression up into the 20th century. So they're always there, and so that's one of the reasons the deck would work very well for that. So the spirits around you are three sisters. They're three sisters. Two knew each other in life, and one predates them by like 3 lifetimes, but they are in your actual family line. They were very creative, but they, the original one, who is like, I kind of want to say going to be somewhere in between, like, and it's going to differ from person to person. Remember, energy signatures match. And when you're in a collective, you're living out an energy signature. So this is like, the first spirit is like, last was an incarnate form, probably between like 1750 and 1800. They had a very particular form of mental vulnerability that nobody understood how to treat at that particular time. They were able to channel, I believe, but to those around them, it just looked like madness because they didn't really understand it well. And that person lived a fairly thwarted life. The 2 other women are not actually like the direct descendants of her because she didn't have any kids. The 2 sisters I'm picking up are from about a century later. And they actually, I'm not positive they're related to your bloodline, but they are actually trying to help you with the seed of creation and guiding you forward. And they both wrote. Like, they were both fairly prolific writers. One of them had a profession outside of that and the other didn't. This is predating like 1900 as a date. So like you want to look at these people for about like, I kind of want to say like the late 1800s. And these spirits, if they're related to your ancestral line, this will make sense to you. If they're not, they're drawn to you because you have a similar energy signature. But there is a creative gift that you have that creates within you a vulnerability. The 10 of Wands is somebody trying to push too hard. The Ace of Wands is this creative energy. It's surrounded by candles, which the Ace of Wands normally aren't. And they're surrounded by when I do any form of spell work, I have the 4 elements represented. So there are 4 elements represented within that one as well. You get blocked sometimes because you may in fact have a predisposition towards, I almost want to say, it's not depression or anxiety. It looks like a tendency to overcommit to things, to have too much focus on something. They're trying to help you with gaining a different perspective on that. That's that Hanged Man in reverse energy, to get you to be freed of something. They do communicate with you regularly, by the way. And like, don't worry about like they come through in any form of divination, and they have been for years, by the way. The original spirit is like the one that was guiding them. And they were more functional, I kind of want to say. They were more functional in that like they had more stamped with the role, like the stamp of approval by society type of energies. Co-creation, yeah. The Emperor and the Upright can be wise personal choices. It's determination as well. It can be the Aries card. So you have like this matriarchal figure in the woman who was not super functional. But she is like the origin of where that gift was first expressed in this particular family line. You go about, I want to say 75 years or so later on these people, and these are 2 sisters. Again, they may or may not be related to you. At first I thought they were, now I'm not so sure. They guide people with this particular ability to compel energy, which is where that kind of overcommitment, doing too much, focusing on one thing is actually a form of magic trying to express itself. In the ability to compel energy, unfortunately, lies the energy of compulsion. And it can kind of turn inward on people if they don't know how to manage it. They're always trying to communicate with you. Like sometimes like even in like foods that you notice in the grocery store. They're always trying to guide your choices to help you open up that realm more to you. And it does have to do with like being guided towards your life's purpose. You may not be somebody who's super comfortable with the idea of spirits being around you, but you genuinely don't need to worry. The Magician in reverse, yeah, I got that kind of like, I don't want to say curse on a family line, but like this thing that where our greatest gift is also our greatest attraction, that ability to compel energy around you, learning how to not hyperfixate so that you can compel more things into reality, you can manifest more easily. But mostly these female spirits are trying very hard to help you with inspiration, to find the ways forward. Five of Wands in reverse, which is a lack of resistance. Six of Swords in reverse, well, that is literally the Death card. So these are spirit messages. They're trying to get you to take new perspective on things so that your inspiration and creativity will open up. So that's what their role in your life is. And I kind of want to get your outcome cards here. One of them's very, 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 very funny. Like very, 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 very funny. If you've ever been watching something like when you're by yourself, and like the way that you laugh is like this deep, deep belly laugh type of thing, that spirit's with you. Like she's got this, like she was very, very witty in life. She was a writer. I think they were both writers, but like it's this weird thing where I can't identify what the profession of one of the sisters was. One of them married and had kids and like just had this very like, you know, didn't even try to publish, but was always, always writing. Like her people that she wrote letters to would save them for years, and like they've shown up in other people's like, you know, memoirs and things. And she was very, very witty and very, very funny. And she has an ability to help inspire you as well when it comes to language. The thing they really want you to know is like there's no reason to be afraid. Like you don't need to be afraid of this. It has nothing to do with like seeing ghosts in the shower or any of the other reasons that some people, like I'm not the biggest fan of spirit mediumship for myself, because like I like to be able to get away from this when I'm done working. And spirit mediumship can kind of intrude because, you know, spirits are always trying to communicate. They find it challenging. And so like that thing within the sixth sense where like, you know, they find the poor little kid who like can see them. It's a little bit like that, but it's not that intrusive, I guess I want to say. And you do have a lot more control over it than you think. Let's check your metal snake. Embrace the great transformation. Fascinating. This is the Chinese 5 Elements Oracle. And then I have metal dragon waking the warrior within. We're going to take one more on this. And then earth rabbit in harmony with the season. So they actually are trying to help you open a new season within your life. You've got 2 energies of metal. This correlates to the spirits of air within tarot. Makes a lot of sense for, they're trying to help you achieve something. They're trying to help you achieve something. They're not the only spirits around you. Like a little bit of a spoiler alert, like you're one of those people who just has like a team, a squad, constantly around them. You may block it out more than you realize. You may block it out more than you realize. The original spirit that I picked up, like her sole role here was to like kind of illustrate, listen, the way this is manifested in some people who never got to express their gifts was in a struggle with their mental health. It is very important for you to have a creative outlet, a creative pursuit. That's what keeps it from turning in the wrong direction. I don't think it has anything to do with bipolar. I really think it's the ability to channel, which if like people don't have enough guidance on like how to keep themselves safe, that weird energy comes in, the things that like, you know, make you concentrate on unrealized realities, the things that will never be. Everyone who channels has to do a lot of work to try and stay grounded, to try and reject the fanciful in order to find the practical. That's the earth spirit, the earth rabbit. For me, rabbits are one of the signs of like, you know, new birth. It is, by the way, this is telling you that spring's heating up a lot for you, by the way. These are all timeless readings, but always look towards the spring for like your next transformations. I kind of want to say the winters are likely a struggle for you. The spirits, like it's a weird thing because it's not like they have this, you know, giant message for you where it's like, do this, go there, do that thing. But they want you to try and remain more open than you do sometimes. I think that you may be somebody who, when you hear the idea of spirit mediumship, you think solely about like disembodied, disincarnate spirits who are earthbound. And that's not the only realm of the spirit world. There are those who, like, they choose to remain behind, not from like needing to relieve their karma, not from like any form of punishment, but because part of their role as a teacher in this world, they were able to, like, they want to impart that knowledge to you. They want to impart that knowledge to you. And like, it's a choice on their part. Remember, time does not function in the way that we think it does. It's not like, they're not consigned to anything. The passage of time is meaningless beyond the corporeal form. Truly meaningless. And that's why when people are talking about the law of attraction and saying like the universe doesn't understand time, the universe understands time just fine. We don't. We don't. You don't need to, like, I'll put everything in the present tense as a for instance, because it will confuse the universe. It's not that. We have it with the Nine of Wands in reverse, which is about dropping your guard on something in the world as well. So these spirits are trying to get you to be more open to new experiences, to bring you new creativity. You need to always be going towards learning new things, experiencing new things. It doesn't have to, and please remember, it can be as simple as like reading articles on different time periods. If you're a deeply introverted person, as like a for instance, it does not then mean pack your bags, you're not allowed to be a homebody. What they're trying to tell you is you need to keep your doors open all the time, and that the thing that if you think solely in the realms of ghosts when you think about spirits, these are simply part of your team to try and guide you through a land that, it's like they're holding up a lantern and saying, follow me, so that the darker aspects of the world of the unseen, which does influence your creativity, don't have a big influence on you. And if you've had bad experiences like with it before, where you think you've encountered things that like maybe didn't mean you well, like as a for instance, the one I was talking about, people needing my help with removing attachments from Ouija boards, those are almost never real spirits. Those are usually, now there's provisos around all of this. If you're working with somebody who's grounded, who's protected, who's blessed, who's sanctified, who's doing the work, then you're more likely to get something to come through it that is an actual spirit. But you can't just whip out a Ouija board and connect. That's like, it's like you have to put on your SPF, your spirit protection factor, before you ever go into this particular realm. But if you've had bad experiences with that before, where you felt like something draining or frightening, that is just, it's part of the landscape. If you go out through this world, if you walk into the 3D world, there are neighborhoods you don't want to drive through. There are areas you don't want to be in after dark. There's peril in all lands. Don't solely define that land by the peril that you have perceived in it. You will always have guidance, you always have help, and they're never going to leave you alone and be like, oh, they took a wrong turn. Well, good luck to them in that pit. They're always going to come in with the information that you need. The message they really, really, really want you to receive is that, like, please be a little bit more open to the idea of connecting with spirits. Like, it seems like you're one of those people who's like fine with the idea of guides and ancestors. I just chuckled because it's like, I get what their point is. The guides and ancestors you're cool with, but the idea of spirit mediumship is like, oh no, those are ghosts. And please remember, even though not all spirit guides have been human, most have. And so they are technically ghosts. They are technically spirits. Stop thinking of the Hollywood representation of hauntings when you think of spirit mediumship, okay? That's a very particular energy that is almost always caused by like ego issues, things that were unresolved within a lifetime, or an energy imprint. But actual spirits, like, some interact with this world to be guides for the people who are left behind because they chose it. They didn't, it was kind of like the difference between choosing to come back here with all of its challenges, because it's a challenging existence, being able to experience the world through that safe remove. It's almost like they enjoy watching from the other side of the glass, but like, you don't need to worry about them being intrusive. And I think you might have an association with them around that. So they're asking you to like do some steps around like connecting, to not fear the idea of there being an evil force on the other side of this, that to take your protective steps whenever you practice any form of spirit mediumship. But these two sisters who, like the first female spirit that came in is like she acted as a guide to them to keep them from having the same experience. What happened with the original spirit was she started hearing voices, and it was not from a form of mental illness. It was a form of channeling. And she had a very limited life because like the people around her, it was just completely not understood. The other two women that I'm picking up who are in her bloodline went towards creative expression and were viewed more by their family as like eccentrics. And I think that in your family line, there will be people who straddled that line, who were highly functional but different. Love surrounds all your connections. Move forward positively in all areas of your life. Sun, open your heart to the enormous growth ahead. Thorns, weathering the challenges ahead will bring a new and positive future. And then Dragonfly, have confidence during this time of great renewal, joy, and connection to spirit. Hey, okay, so challenges. Don't be worried about the idea of challenges. This is one of the cards I get for having good boundaries, for being protected. But one of the way this all started out was reframe the idea of the biggest message they want is stop thinking that life is happening to you. Things are being brought to you even when they're challenging, to teach you how to overcome that area that you're most worried about. The area of like, well, what if I stop being able to function? You will always be able to follow your guidance. You're far stronger than you think you are. And these spirits really are only ever attached to people who are trying to like accomplish something meaningful in the world. It's why they remain behind. It's like they won't give up on us. So they're trying to help you create the reality that you want. And please like listen to the idea of you always have to have a creative pursuit. Metal Snake, embrace the great transformation. Metal Dragon, waking the warrior within. Earth Rabbit, in harmony with the season. You are, because you are connected to the elements, you are very much in like the respect what the season does. I live in Southern California, so the winters here are like, not harsh. Like you get chilled and that's about it. You can still run around outside and do all kinds of things. It's still the winter. It is important to have respect for the function of each season and what it is meant to be doing within your life. Now, the 5 Elements Oracle does come with a guidebook. I'm a keyword reader, but there are always going to be like big descriptions on this. Because of how long I've been reading, I just kind of go with the intuitive understanding of this. And just kind of look towards the spring of every year for like the areas of your life that are expanding and emerging, and to not put too much pressure on yourself other than to recover from the expansions of the year prior to that during the winter. And to please keep in mind. But your guidance is like, they may be trying to appear to you when you meditate. And if you're not meditating, you gotta find a meditative practice. And whenever I say you have to do anything, you don't have to do anything. But it would help you with connecting to what the purpose of these particular energies around you are. Let's get Soul Helper and get out of here. So these are like 2 essentially muses who are trying to help you find the expression of your personal power. There is some fear on your side that they're trying to help you resolve. You may not have, like I said, the best association with the idea of the spirit realm. They are the ones that are trying to help you. They're particularly present around running water, by the way. It's very important for you to be near running water on a regular basis. It can be a shower, by the way. I'm not accusing you of not bathing, but it's best if you can get towards rivers and streams. Every time you cross a body of water, that crossing brings you more. So just keep that part in mind. Whenever you're in a park, if there's like a little bridge that goes over a stream or something, make sure to cross over it. It brings better flow into your life. It brings better flow into your life. Enter the temple of your truth and learn to value it. And then a partnership for the new age. It's time to welcome it. And I want one more on this. Live in this world as a dreamer, create a future paradise. They're trying to inspire you. They're trying to help you. Because my personal feeling is that these spirits, and please remember, it's not a finite quality, meaning that like they can't be just with one person at once. How's that? The soul is an infinite thing. The body is the thing that has all these limitations around it. So that's how like hundreds of people can watch something and all of the energies, it's like, oh, they're talking to me too. Yes, they're talking to you too. They don't have the same limitations that we do when we're in a singular form. These spirits are trying to help guide you towards the life that you have been trying to create. They experience some resistance from you sometimes, and they just kind of want you to examine why that might be. And if it's fear related, you know, work on your root chakra, but they did actually want you to try to get to running water or a flowing water source as soon as you can. Cross over it if you can, and then remember to meditate. And they are trying to, if you're meditating and you don't see somebody and you don't hear something, that doesn't mean it didn't work. Things are implanted into our subconscious mind. Our guidance, we get guidance every single time we meditate, okay? And I know it can be difficult for people with, you know, so many pressures in our anxious world to learn how to connect. I did a podcast on how to meditate when you're anxious or you have ADHD or you have any forms that like of focus issues, okay? Because you have hyperfocus and sometimes you can't focus is what it looked like. That was pile number 1. I hope you enjoyed your message. Remember, if you want to book me for a private reading, @therisingmoon.com is the only way to do so. If you enjoy the Chinese 5 Elements Oracle, which I have been, there is a link to purchase it in the description box down below. Don't forget to check out my podcast, Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. Take care. Be well. Welcome back. If you chose pile number 2, this is your reading. We're putting the number 2 over there so people can easily fast forward to their reading. There are timestamps in the description box down below. There always are. The steampunk deck is the one that I always use for spirit medium reads. It has a lot of shadows in it. It's always facilitated spirit mediumship for me. These I kind of selected for, it's a little bit of half and half. I shuffled, but like I rejected several. Listen to your inner compass is what this is marked with, but I don't think it has a lot of bearing on the reading. Let's see what the making magic is. Fairy magic, gosh darn it. Respectfully work with the fairies and elementals to achieve your goals. There's been a lot of, we're using the Chinese 5 Elements Oracle. It's been tying in very well so far. So whenever I get that deck, that card, I'm always like, please don't work with fairies unless you are prepared to understand that there's always an energy exchange. I do actually work with fairies, even though I'm always telling people not to. The reason that I tell people not to is they do not function by human rules. Now, I'm not conjuring them on purpose. It's a long, long story. When we're talking about connecting with the elements, fairies are an energy that are present as are elementals. And you don't need to fear them necessarily, but make sure you use offerings as a for instance if you're going to be interacting with elementals or the elements. It is just an important part of it. There is a spell downstairs burning right now with protection conjuring oils, with some mediumship conjuring oils, facilitation conjuring oils, and there's also an offering that is themed around this. And that is the work that I will always have to do whenever I'm invoking any form of elemental magic. And I work with celestial and angelic magic. That was a big long lead into is like you're being asked to do things like light intention candles and to figure out an offering. Here's the thing, if you're very uncomfortable leaving out food, some people really, really are, and I don't blame them at all because it feels very wasteful. It's not, you're just offering energy to something you can't see. But there's a lot of deprivation in this world and I kind of get it. Work with flowers, work with sigils, work with objects, work with a beverage. Like if you're very uncomfortable leaving out like food, then you can always leave out a cup of coffee. Let's get going for pile number 2. I have the Knight of Pentacles in the upright, which is that slow and steady progress. What spirits are around you? Oh, you've got such an earth element spirit here. So what's that heavy sigh? You already have. You're a little bit like me, pile number 2. in that you have had something that was conjured into your realm, likely through something you did as a child, not understanding what the import of it was. The way I ended up working with fairies without ever meaning to, and it took me a very long time to figure out that's what happened, was I used to go to Quaker farm camp. On Sundays, we'd sit around in the woods. It was the only nice thing in my childhood. And Quakers have meetings, they don't have church, and like people don't speak, and it's a long, long story, but basically it was a bunch of people sitting around in the woods praying and not speaking, and then eating food that had been cooked in a campfire in a circle. And it took me a long time to understand, I was conjuring fairies, because I was a very strange little kid, and I absolutely believed in God. And so I was doing it with very pure intent. And so the fairies that came to me are luckily the ones that serve humanity, but there are all different kinds. And they will come to you based on the intent of what you were doing when you conjured them. So spoiler alert, you conjured something a long time ago, whether or not you did magic. There are all types of things where we accidentally open up doors. You do not need to be worried about it. As long as your intent is clear, these particular fairies are not going to harm you. But I really urge people to not do magic they don't understand. Meaning, if you don't understand what fairies are, please don't go out of your way to conjure them. People think it's cool. And they don't understand that it's you have just invited something into your life that plays by a completely different rule book than you do. And if you're in, it is one of the realms where intent will protect you unless you go out of your way to summon something that is outside of your intent, which can happen to all of us. I have the Tower in reverse. It's an earth spirit. So you have an earth elemental and one of the guardians from what I would call the fey realm, the fairy realm, that is one of the spirits around you. It connects you very well to your own guidance, to your intuition, but you need to do a little bit more to honor it than you have been. The whole idea of lighting an intention candle and putting out a form of offering, it can be as simple as sharing what you have for dinner. In a very small form, if you want. I'm always fighting, I don't know what to do with this sometimes, because people will comment, I feel bad wasting food. And it's but you have to figure out an offering. If you want to receive, you have to give. So you can make drawings. It really can be anything that you create to give to this other energy. This is an earth energy, so a practical one is a good idea. Sometimes you can sing songs as offerings, honest to goodness. Six of Swords in the upright. Leaving a difficult situation behind. Leaving the past behind. Making amends. Four Cups in reverse as well. It's not the only spirit that's around you. If I start to sound a little beleaguered here, it's a really difficult realm to describe to people sometimes. So you have an earth elemental and one of the guardians of earth. You have likely something very similar to the type of fae that I accidentally conjured as a kid. And I would be back there year after year after year. It protects me. It really, really, really protects me. So remember that part. If you have a guardian of earth, you have a lot of earthly protection. Meaning you probably should be one of those people who's I was walking across the crosswalk, somebody was turning, they shouldn't have been, car stopped 3 feet from me. And you should have multiple stories of near misses where it's almost like something stopped it. A lot of earth energy on this. 7 of Pentacles in reverse. 3 of Swords in the upright. Okay. It's not the only spirit. So now I have a real life spirit. 2 of Pentacles in the upright, 8 of Swords in the upright. Okay. You have a male relative. I don't know if you knew this spirit or not. I really don't. They may have died before you were born. This person passed from the earthly realm at a relatively young age. I mean, relatively young age. Relatively meaning somewhere around 35 or so. They were very vital. You also, there's 2 male spirits here. Okay, so you have 2 male spirits here. They're in charge of helping with your earthly protection. If you've noticed really funky things, that's that elemental spirit, the guardian of earth that I keep picking up. I don't mind it. Like, it doesn't have a bad feeling around it at all, but please make sure you're clearing your home and doing things like that on a regular basis. Because where it goes, it has a lot of power and things follow it. The guardians that are around you are mostly really about your earthly safety and your health. They want you to know that you're loved, like on a really, really deep level that I don't think you understand. You block out these two earthly spirits a lot, these two male spirits a lot. Like, they have a hard time getting through to you. Four Cups in reverse, being haunted by something, no path forward on that one. Let's check your outcomes. We'll get the Chinese 5 Elements Oracle in here in a moment. And I have the 6 of Wands in the upright with the 3 of Pentacles in reverse, which is like your earthly success. They're asking you not to have the doubts that you do sometimes around, like, why is everything taking so long? The Knight of Pentacles in the upright, and then we've got that energy of the 7 of Pentacles in reverse, which is like you're disappointed with the rate of things. It's not that they don't understand the passage of time. It's that you have a sense of confidence in your readiness that is actually attached to how protected you are. And, like, listen, they're really in charge of, like, you know, keeping you safe from any earthly threats. But what they can't really do is take care of your emotional world in a way that will make, you know, you've been safe at different points and felt awful, is kind of what the vibe here is. You are still going to succeed. You are. Please listen on a weekly offering. It can be on whatever day that you pick. Honest to goodness, like, I always do something on a Sunday, always, because that's the day that is most closely associated with healing, because I do so much healing magic. But different days of the week correspond to different planets. Like, Saturday is Saturn, Sunday is the Sun, Monday is the Moon, Tuesday is Mars, which can be about any conflict within your life, etc. So, like, if you're trying to, for instance, resolve inner conflict, you would do something on a Tuesday. They do want you working with that idea a little bit more. And it's to tie your intuition to the practical realm as much as it is to appease anything on the other side. The question that always comes up for people is like, am I going to get in trouble if I don't do offerings? It does not work that way. It doesn't work that way. You're not being penalized. It's that they're trying to have more direct access to you. And, like, you really want things in the 3D more than they're here, and they're just asking you to do some work around that so that they can get to you a little bit more easily. Water Rabbit, the sweetness of quiet love. That is beautiful. The Lotus energy on that's one of the cards for spiritual awakening. There is a beautiful guidebook that goes with this. I'm a keyword reader, so I'm always going to be reading from the imagery and the keywords. Water is about emotional flow. Probably you're sick of hearing this part, but the pace of your life was so that you would, like, the likely success that you've been pursuing was so that you could look for enjoyment outside of that. Because you've had a problem with loss of identity to an exterior source. Now, it may have been codependency for some. It's usually codependency, because that's not just a romantic relationship concept. It really is where your definition of self is dependent on an exterior source. So it can be your relationship to work. Some people it's faith, honest to goodness. Some people it's where you're looking outside of yourself for, like, I almost want to say proof of who you are and the rightness of your journey, when we're supposed to be looking within. So the pace really had to be so that it's like, no, they wanted you happy, whereas you're like, I just want to be successful, and if I'm successful, I'd be happy. It's like, well, not for long. Not for long. Sooner or later, you just be tired and feel drained, and, like, people put too many demands on you, and, like, the happiness of the, whew, I'm safe, wouldn't last all that long. It would, like, they had to slow things down so that you would look for a way to be happy that was not being provided from that external source, but something that you were finding within, the sweetness of quiet love. They hear everything that you say, and they take absolutely no offense at anything ever. And you need to know that part. When it comes to the elemental thing, that like I just, it always makes me a little bit nervous because these are massive energies. They're massive energies, and they're not like, we tend to like try to put everything through a prism of how we feel, humanity. We superimpose it onto whatever it is that we're trying to interact with, thinking that it has a likeness to us. It does not, it does not, it does not. It does not. It is, which is not the same thing as saying you should fear it, but that respect the idea that it does in your life what it is meant to be doing. And that if it sometimes doesn't seem to pay much attention, this is the elemental spirit versus the two male guides who are very much about protecting you. We're going to get back to them in a moment. But the elemental spirit, like, don't fight its flow. You can't win. If you lean into it, then the flow quickens. You're acting as a dam within your own life sometimes. And that's just something to be a little bit aware of. Meaning that your insistence that, like, I'm going to focus here, I'm going to focus here, I'm going to focus here until something happens in this particular area, doesn't work. It's like, we'll find out where your focus is meant to be going. The idea of offerings would help with that. We have Earth Pigs, surrender to the moment. This is a really good deck, and I find it to be really, really, really beautiful. I love the colors in it. I interviewed Vicky for my podcast, and I really suggest that you check that out. She's a really, really bright lady on top of absolutely everything else. But surrender to the moment. Quit trying to dictate your terms and more will happen for you. Like the idea that, like, days that you get up, the idea of going to bed not knowing what you're going to do the next day, but going to do what you feel called to in this particular area is a good idea. You seek safety and structure too much. So back to these two male spirits who are like in charge of protecting you. If a part of you hears that and it's like, you should have met my last person, my last boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, there's no way something's protecting me. They cannot protect us from our personal choices. They can only try and head things off at the past. They can try and call lots of attention to red flags. We do still have free will. And I'm like, is everything predetermined? No, it's not. There are infinite numbers of realities to pursue every single choice. Your consciousness goes like where you determine it will. Like you will make positive choices. Make positive choices around your inner wellness and happiness. So they're in charge of protecting your earthly safety. But they also want to like say that you play a role in this as well. So like, you know, try to eat healthfully, try to live in a balanced state, try to take really good care of you, try to interact with yourself like in this very balanced way, and your flow will increase. The better care you take of yourself, the more quickly things will happen because you won't take on too much. They want you to know, like the male spirits that I'm protecting, that is a very patriarchal energy, but it's not an evil form of it. They're not trying to control you. They just like to try and run interference as much as they can. But they can't, like I said, they can't choose for you. They can only work with your choices. They are always there. They are always there. Like you should have noticed like weird things like that should have been a terrible outcome and it wasn't. As in the, for instance, of like, I didn't get mowed down in the street. There ought to be like, you know, wow, look at that electrical panel, it's all fried, but nothing actually caught fire or burned down the house. I wonder, that's a miracle. You have these male spirits that protect you. They're both related to you. And one of them is the one that said, like I said, died around 35, absolutely fine with like letting you know that part. You apparently didn't know them in life. They just, for whatever reason, it's just a big part of their identity was being protected. They likely died as a soldier. Okay, they likely died as a soldier. And so they just remain behind to protect and to, like, they can be a little bit regimented, quite frankly. But the other one, like, doesn't want to fully reveal, like, who they are. And it's because you wouldn't want them. You would block them out. So it's likely somebody you have a poor association with. And I need you to hear something. What survives and comes back to try and help you, not in the trickster realm, but in the guidance realm, is the best of a person. And everybody does have a divine soul, even if they completely lost their way. I'm going to use an outlandish example because I think there's almost no way that this is going to be the real story for somebody. If you had a relative who, as a, for instance, was a flippin' serial killer, and they died in the electric chair, and you hear that person is here protecting you, it's not the part of them that you're associating. They had a divine soul that they just like completely lost their connection to. They were guided by a very dark source, but they still had a soul. It is incredibly rare for someone to be in an unadulterated dark or evil place. So that is not the real example, okay? But there is somebody here who cannot ever, like they never try to reveal who they are to you because they know that you wouldn't want them here. And that's the part that they're trying to get you to understand is like they take no issue with like how angry you might be towards them because of what they did in the earthly realm. They take zero issue with that. They're not here to plead their case. They're not here to, but they are here. One of the meanings of the Six of Swords is to make amends. They are trying to make amends. And they know that you would never wish to speak to them. And they get that part. And it will never stop them from trying to help you. And you do not have to be afraid that the help they offer is corrupted by who they were in this earth. The level of regret that they have is staggering. But they played a role, and it was important to help with an actual outcome on something that has to do with healing. But like they know, like there's this heartbreak, and like it was apparently a very wrenching experience for you, and there was a lot of ill will towards this person, and it's very male energy. They had a terrible, 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 terrible temper. They had a terrible temper. And that's the part where they understand that it's like, no, I understand why like you would never be like, you know, contacting a spirit mediumship and X is here to talk to you, and you'd be like, hey, slam the door, padlock it, probably cut off the head, bury the bones, salt the earth so nothing can grow there. Like they get that part. They get why you would be like, no, never, never, no, no, no. Having said that, that was their earthly self that lost their connection to their divine self, and the part of them that is here helping you is their divine self. And they have unconditional, absolute love for you. That's that quiet love. Surrender to the moment, and then we have one more on this. Whoa. Metal Stake, embrace the great transformation. Hey, listen. That card came out for the last group as well, and I insert them at different points. I don't just start shuffling. When I pick this up, I will put that back in different areas. So the metal snake and great transformation. Snakes are about transformation. You know, metal is one of the things within this earth as well. Because I am an intuitive reader, like I associate metal with more of the earthly concerns as well. What we forge within this world. Everything in your world is changing as you go forward. They will not give you timelines on this because you, without meaning to, try so hard to make things happen if they give you a timeline that you're actually blocking things out. No scolding here, no scolding here. That's that earth, fairy, magic, elemental energy. So how do you honor like the element of earth when you're like, okay, I can't. There are people starving in this world and we have no food to waste. You can clean and put out a note or a handwritten poem as a offering. You can draw a sigil as an offering. You can put flowers out as an offering. You can gather things as an offering from the actual earth. As for instance, one of the things that I saw that was the perfect, I was out on a hike the other day. I hiked off onto a little area that dead-ended, actually, bizarrely, and it dead-ended onto a little plateau where someone had spelled out a message to their dead father in rocks. And like I did read it and I won't share it here, but I was like, yeah, no, that's the perfect type of offering. That's the perfect type of earth offering. You can do that as well. You can use, like, you could spell out a message in matchsticks, and that is another way of an earth offering. Okay, but try and lean in on that just a little bit. I think the main thing that came through here is that there is a spirit here that they will not, you don't need to, I don't ever want to be near that energy again. When I die, it better not come near me. You earned that right to exclude the energy from your consciousness, but they want you to know they're always here and always trying to help, and that to please accept the idea that they were just a sick person. They were just sick, and that they didn't get the help that would have helped them. And there was another situation around their own growing up that, like, it's very, very, very complicated as to why they weren't nurtured properly at all. But they had a terrible, terrible set of circumstances in their own right. And they're not, you know, trying to make you feel guilty for any ire that you might still have towards this person. And they're not pleading their case. They're just trying to help you understand that it's like, well, how could that possibly be true? You were such a toxic influence in my life. This is the only way they have of making amends. The Six of Swords is one of the cards for amends. To bring things back into a state of balance, they are not going to try and talk to you. Like, that's a thing that I think holds you back sometimes from the idea of connection, from the idea of seeking out your ancestors, from the idea of doing these offerings or interacting with the elements, is that there's an energy where you're like, I don't want anything to do with that person. They are not going to try to talk to you. They are always here, but like, it's not something you have to try and exclude, because it's almost like they want to say, hey, listen, you wouldn't be able to stop me, because this is made out of a very pure form of love that I know you did not experience from me when I was alive. And the level of regret this spirit has is like, it's a little bit heartbreaking to try and interact with. But there's nothing they can do about what is gone. All they can do is guide and protect and serve every good interest that they're trying to make up for it. But they will not ever try and talk to you. If you've been around spirit mediums and a part of you starts shutting down or throwing up walls because you're like, I don't want to, just hold your peace. The peace will be held. The peace will be held. If it's keeping you from trying to connect, that's what they wanted you to know the most, okay? Whew. But they are still helping you, and things are going to turn out. Just keep believing in your ability to heal. Cracker, positive energy surrounds you, love, joy, and good fortune awaits. Plain, a journey is indicated either physically or metaphorically. Your life will become more full. Your life is not going to be contained in a thimble for the rest of all time. It's not. And this energy that, like, I can practically feel like somebody's willingness to hear seizing up at the mere idea that this spirit is anywhere near them. They know they earn that reaction from you. They know that. They know that. And like if there's a part of you that is like, I'm afraid to die because I don't want to be around that energy ever again, it would never be inflicted upon you. It will never alter that this person in their divine form has a divine love, and it is directed towards you. And I think all they're trying to communicate is, please don't be afraid of me. I'm not going to do anything to you, and I'm sorry that I ever did. That was a weird one. So that was pile number 2, and I hope it helped you somehow to know that, like, what remains of this difficult energy I encountered exists solely to serve you. And it would never, it would never impose upon you in any way, shape, or form. It's not watching you. It's not trying to enter. It just protects you. It just protects you. And it is sworn to as an act of contrition. Okay? Take care. Be well. Welcome back. If you chose pile number 3, this is your reading. We're putting number 3 over there so people can easily fast forward to their reading. But there are timestamps in the description box down below. This is the Steampunk Tarot. It is the one I always use for spirit mediumship reads. It's a long story as to how it became that. but I use it exclusively for that at this particular point. So these I shuffled for, but I also didn't. I rejected multiple cards as having images that just kind of didn't fit the vibe. So it doesn't have a lot of bearing, but it is believe in yourself. And this one I did shuffle for. I have no idea what it says, so it does have bearing. Protection, strong protective magic for the family and the home. So a spirit of protection is around you at all times. Believe in yourself, huh? Let's keep going. Let's find out what the spirits around us. Hey guys, before I get started, please don't forget to do things like subscribe. It helps my channel. Hit that thumbs up button if you like the reading. If you want to book me for a private reading, you can do so exclusively through attherisingmoon.com, which is my website. It's linked in the description box down below. My eye is totally on that evil eye protection thing. We're going to find out why. We have the Four Swords in reverse, okay? Six of Cups in reverse. Two of Cups in the upright. Yeah, this is somebody you did know. Your biggest connection to them was in childhood. The Wheel of Fortune in the upright. Give me just a moment here. Justice in the upright. The Lovers in the upright. Three of Pentacles in reverse. Ten of Swords in reverse. Four of Pentacles, and then the Four of Cups. We're going to take one more on this one. It's a Spirit. Eight of Swords in reverse. Okay. So you have a spirit around you at all times who failed to protect you when you were young. This person has since departed this earth. They are constantly here. They may have been in a healing profession because I have the Raphael. I have two cards that I associate with Raphael. Raphael is the healer's energy. This person, like, they weren't well. They might have been ill and dying when you last saw them. You haven't seen them since you were a child. They're very, very connected to you. They were a very powerful person in their own right, but like you didn't know them as a very powerful person. They were either like their health had given out or their ability to withstand had given out, and it may have been both. But they didn't, like, this spirit is around you, and there is this feeling of I wish to make amends for what I didn't do. Like either they didn't make you feel loved or important or safe. And it kind of looks like maybe things did happen to you that, like, you should have been protected from, but were not. This spirit just wants you to know that they try to increase your confidence, increase your feeling of personal power, your ability to love yourself. They want you to know one thing very, very particular, and it's going to be so hard to say, but I'm going to have to say it. They did not treat you lovingly. When you were a kid, when you were a child, they did not treat you lovingly, and they were in a position where they should have. They just really, 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 really want you to hear that it had nothing to do with your worth. They had their own struggle, and they didn't win it. They do protect you as much as possible. They have been with you. They've been with you like ever since they've left. They focus primarily on you. They focus primarily on you. Like they may have been a caretaker who, like, something not great happened to you when you were under their charge, and maybe more than one thing. Because, like, they're trying to balance, they're trying to take as much action in trying to guide your choices and protect you and increase your feeling of confidence, which they played no role in instilling a feeling of confidence in you, and it's one of their biggest regrets. That one of the hardest things, this feels like a very feminine spirit, by the way, so it was likely like grandmother, great-grandmother type of thing. It could have been some other form of female relative, but it has a very female energy around it, which we all contain masculine and feminine energies, but I do believe their gender expression when living was as a woman. They just have a lot of... The thing that just came through was they said they were just lost. They were just lost. That there was no malice around it. If they treated you like a burden or like they didn't like you, that they didn't like themselves. It was not about you. They just were very, very lost. But they know that it was not fair to you. It was not fair to you. That they didn't stand up for you as often as they should have as well. The biggest regret this particular spirit has is that, like, in forgetting that, like, everybody has their own internal world, and that, like, a lot of, like, what might have been going on with you, they didn't think about your personal happiness much, and they have a lot of regret around that. They want you to know that, like, the very things that allowed them to keep going, even though it was like half their soul was gone, like they might have lost their partner or something, you have that strength. You're a much stronger person than they were. They really, like, do we have regrets after death? Not precisely. Not precisely. It functions in a slightly different thing. Yes and no. Like, people can, like, want to make amends. People can wish that they had done differently. But it's not like it doesn't... It's not like it keeps them up at night, I guess is all I'm trying to say. It's like they know that they actually have more power in an incorporeal form than they ever did in a corporeal form. But the message they just want to convey to you is, like, they wish that they had understood, like, early childhood development a lot better than they actually did. That, like, they didn't understand that they're being absorbed in their own misery or illness or sadness would be something that you would think was about you. And there's a failure to protect their energy, but like I said, they were so used to living with some form of, like, emotional desert within, that they just didn't have a lot to offer. We're using Vicky Eskandar's The 5 Elements Oracle. It has a great guidebook with it. I am a keyword reader and an intuitive reader, so I'm not going to be reaching for it today, but we're going to be looking at these. Metal Dragon. Waking the Warrior Within. Hey, listen, I mixed these up really, really well in between, and another pile got that. They want you to know that, like, you have this is personal power, energy. That, like, in every relationship that you ever have, you are always just, you're a very, very powerful person. And they didn't mean to deny you something. They just were, they were so sad. This person was so sad in a way that you didn't see it as sadness at the time. You just thought they didn't like you. It's weird because it's like, it's not like they're saying, oh no, I like you so very, very, very much. It is more that they're like, that's not what we're... They couldn't like anything. This is going to be hard to talk about. So, like, a little bit of a trigger warning around, like, the emotional state of somebody who's been gone for a while. Life was such a burden to them. Either they were very, very ill or they were very, very, very sad. That they never thought about wanting to be alive. They just were trying to see through something. Their obligation to this life, and they did treat everything like it was a burden, and like there is regret here. There's this feeling of, like, they can't, there's no way to apologize for, like, denying you a piece of your foundational structure. But they want you to know that, like, it's there regardless, meaning that you can go forward and claim it. Just, like, let go of the idea that how you were treated by this person had anything to do with whether or not you're lovable. Fire Dog, redefine your boundaries. Very interesting. Okay, so this is going to be a slightly weird one, because as we're healing, we have to learn boundaries. We have to learn good boundaries. There is a stage in healing, it is one of the last stages, where your boundaries are so good, you have to remind yourself that, like, not every situation requires a sword and a shield. That, like, you can... People aren't perilous to you. People aren't perilous to you. You are protected, you are guided, that this, like, what remains of this person is very, very, very strong. And you would never have related to who they were when you saw them as being strong, because they were incredibly diminished. But if, like, the landscape that I'm seeing of their like emotional life when they were here is any indication, they were strong just to keep getting out of bed. They had no reason to. They literally had no reason to. And they're trying to let you know that you actually were the reason, and they know that they did not convey that. That like that is not how they made you think of yourself around them. That they had a lot more love for you than like ever was obvious. And then I have wood sheep. Nature is your healer. I love this energy for grounding, for grounding, for grounding, for grounding. I am such a broken record about the need to ground. It is important to be able to work and flow with the universe, to interact with nature. It just is. All of these have images that dragons are about personal power, waking the warrior within here, but then the redefine your boundaries is like examine whether or not you're shutting people out just a little bit too much and open up a little bit more. And like that can be, it can almost feel like goalpost moving where it's like, oh, first I didn't have any boundaries and now you're like, have fewer. Not exactly. It's remember the whole like you'll know when to bring the lion out type of thing. And then we have the wood sheep, nature is your healer. I cannot stress enough how protective the energy of nature is for you. And I know that like these are timeless readings. I'll be putting this up in what, you know, constitutes winter for people. You can still interact with nature via nature documentaries, via YouTube travel, POV walks. You're never cut off from nature. You're never truly cut off from nature. And one of the things that you can do is like, you know, all you have to do is stand outside for a little bit. Now, it is best if you can go and you can take walks, or you can hike, or you can cycle, or you can sit quietly in a park with a lot of trees. That works as well. It doesn't always have to be strenuous. But they really are kind of like this energy is telling you your personal power increases every single time that you find a way. This particular energy is just all about like discover like what a badass you are. Like if you're still standing after this challenged energy at the beginning of your life, you're a badass. That's the waking the warrior within. You are already a warrior, whether or not, even if you feel like you're been limping through the last 5 years, it's like, yeah, but you keep going. It doesn't, we have this like almost Hollywood version of what we think bravery and the resilience looks like. Keep going forward and knowing that things will get better as your relationship to self improves. And the only thing this spirit wants you to consider, remember the Lovers is one of the cards about being whole and integrated within, but it's also about choices. When it comes to the past, please let go of your prior relationships and like your childhood to the extent that you can. Even if it really, really damaged you, and it appears to have, you have guidance and protection and magic all around you, and if you decide you're going to heal, you'll heal. And it will take longer. It always takes longer than we want it to. Why? Because like we rarely know the full extent of our damage. We rarely know how our relationship to self is formed at all children, by the way. All children are codependent. That's why codependency is so incredibly common, is that we are born helpless. We need something to protect us. Codependency is formed in people who did not have good relationships to their caretakers, sometimes through very, very, very prosaic sort of boring reasons, like, oh, my mom worked a lot, or I was in daycare, or honest to goodness, it leaves an area where you have to fill in your ability to have confidence of self and not make somebody else's actions about you. And I'm please don't take this as any form of scolding, because it's not meant that way. But that's what this spirit keeps trying to tell you, is that they're so flippin' sorry, but it actually wasn't about you. They were just in pain. They were just in pain. And it did not allow them to express love or admiration for how bright and funny, and they felt more for you than you think. You were not, they were just heartbroken in their own respect, and they didn't have anything to grab onto any longer to try and find a reason to keep going forward. They had a very, 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 very bitter disappointment, and I don't know what it was, but it was like it redefined their world. Re-energizing the natural world. Okay, so nature is your healer. Re-energize in the natural world. Have the courage to be free. Know that freedom begins where desire ends. So that is one of the cards about, like, healing codependency. And please stop reacting with self-judgment to the term. I'm short. It has much, I'm not a tall person. I'm like 5'3". Like, people meet me in person, they're always a little bit surprised. Like, you're kind of dinky. It's like, yeah, I really am not a big person. It's just a descriptor. Don't give it power over you. It does not have power over you. It does not define you. But this is one of the things that it looks like you experienced emotional neglect as a child, and it made you feel like you weren't lovable. And it was the other person was just screwed up. The people who denied you the love and the support and the encouragement that you deserved, that you are deserving of, didn't do it because of anything having to do with you. They were locked into their own pain. And to just try to reframe how you're looking at it. Because when you keep making it about you, and I don't mean that in a narcissistic way, I mean that it keeps you from being freed from it. Understand, they had all their own stuff happening in the background. That kids, the other thing is that kids live perfectly in the moment, but they have to learn a greater perspective and empathy and consideration of other people's feelings. So it's completely natural if this, like, the female spirit that I'm feeling, that they're really sorry that they sucked at, like, being a person who could help somebody build a relationship to self. They're really sorry about that. But the key to the door that will let you out of this particular land is precisely in that. Is in understanding that it's like, hey, listen, it happened to you. It defined how you feel about yourself. It defined the relationships that you have chosen. But the key to letting it go is to understanding it never had to do with you. It wasn't a judgment of you. That person was in their own world. They were in their own feelings. And they tried, and they did love you. Like, this person had a lot of love for you. It's just that they didn't love themselves at all, and they were miserable and sad and wishing it would be over. And, like, think of how, like, all-encompassing. I guess all I'm trying to say is, please remember this person was clinically depressed. Major depressive disorder. They were just sick. They were just sick. It wasn't about you. It wasn't about your worth. It wasn't about, like, whether or not, if they treated you like a burden, that doesn't make you a burden. It makes them sick. They had no joy. They had no joy in being alive. But it's not because you took away their joy, something else did. And they're just telling you that the key to freedom, to have the courage to be free, is to accept that, like, hey, listen, even when things happen to us, sometimes it's not about us. And that's not meant as anything other than an explanation of, like, try to let it go. Try to let it go. Try to let it go so you can be free, because you deserve to be free. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to have love. You deserve to have success. And this particular spirit wants you to know that you did from the second you were born. But they were just sick. Lovers, there are two paths ahead. Be true to yourself. Angel, your angels are guiding and protecting you on your spiritual journey. Marriage, you are attracting emotional fulfillment and unconditional love. Now, that may be a real partner, because I do have a Two of Cups there. It's a general reading, so it can't take the most details on this one. But it sure seems to indicate that whether or not you realize it, this person's emotional distance from you is part of why you struggle with believing that you are lovable. And like they wish they could like send a telegram with roses and candies to be like, I am so sorry, I was just sick, I was just so sad, I didn't care about myself and I forgot how it might feel to you. And now that I know, I've like until the day you die, the spirit will be there protecting you, trying to guide you, trying to help you find the pieces that they didn't give to you when they were alive. But they just need you to hear. It's like, can you just please believe it? It wasn't about your worth. It was about they were too sick to care about anybody, and they did their best, and they're so sorry they let you down so badly. But you don't give it as much importance as you do some other things. But that person was around you and made you feel like you should disappear because they were just so unhappy. And that's the message they want you to hear, is like they were just unhappy. It wasn't that you were doing anything, and they know they let you down. They have this, like, they want to make it right. They want to make it right. They want to make it right. But the only way they have of making it right is to quit judging your worth on how they treated you, because they're the origin of some difficult choices that you've made have been in that person did not abuse you. I do not think they abused you. They were so indifferent to you. That is how you expect to be treated by others. That like you don't. They never meant to treat you like your feelings didn't matter. And that the key to having better relationships is in understanding your feelings matter. Your feelings matter. If somebody hurts your feelings and they don't apologize, if they don't make amends, then that's on them, but your feelings matter. It doesn't mean that like I should just get over that because I don't matter. What they did doesn't matter. A lot of people live with this pain type of thing. Sometimes the only closure we get is the closure that we choose. But they're trying to help you understand that is the key. Not some of the traumas that happened, but the key is that you had somebody around you who was a caretaker for you, who they were so dead inside, they were so sad, that you think you were the source and you weren't, and they're so sorry. But that has nothing to do with whether or not you're lovable. They know they didn't treat you like you were lovable. They hated being alive by the time you knew it. You knew each other, for real. They hated being alive. And that was like something that couldn't ever be expressed. But you were never a burden, and they never thought you were a mistake. They never had thoughts like that at all. Mostly they were just sad and in pain and trying to get away from their pain, and they're sorry they ignored yours. Okay? All right, so that was an interesting message, a pretty deep one. I'm so sorry that like some of these are going to be heavy. They're not all going to be like, hey, I'm in a blissful place, everything is love. Although please understand that like what comes after this is a blissful place and everything is love. But while they're trying to communicate with us in this realm, they're addressing what's present in this realm. Okay? And I'm sorry it was difficult, but I hope it was helpful. If you want to book me for a private reading, at therisingmoon.com. It is linked to in the description box down below. I have a podcast, Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica, which helps people heal and brings them other healing modalities. And then Vicky Iskandar's The Chinese 5 Elements deck was helping me out in this one. Has an extensive guidebook with it. Rules of YouTube, it was given to me. I don't receive anything if you order it. I just liked it, so I told her I would feature it. And I really, really recommend it for people who are trying to get in touch with the flow in their lives and the elements in their lives as well. Take care. Be well. Welcome back. Okay, so this is pile number 4. Putting the number 4 over there so people can easily fast forward to their reading. But as always, there are timestamps in the description box down below. We have the Steampunk Tarot deck, which is the one that I always use for spirit mediumship. It's going to be bringing us our predictive cards. It has a lot of shadows in it. I've always found it to be good for spirit mediumship. I just wanted to get a bridge shuffle in there because I forgot to do it in between piles, and I usually don't do it on camera. These I both shuffled for, but also like rejected a couple, so I don't think they have a ton of bearing in what the caption is. Choose what makes you happy. But this I did shuffle for and have no idea what it says. Abracadabra with wings. Fantastic good fortune and lucky chances. Okay, number 4. This is great energy. Let's see what the spirits around you are. This has been a very interesting one because like there's been fairies present, there have been like dead relatives, there have been all kinds of like, it's been interesting readings so far. Hey guys, before I get started, please don't forget to subscribe because it helps my channel. If you want to book me for a private reading, you can do so exclusively through therisingmoon.com. I have a podcast, Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. Please forgive me if you already said that. By pile number 4, I don't know what I've said it and what I haven't. High Priestess in reverse, which is a card of clarity. Things being revealed, revelations as well. Like things like being very above board as well is one of them. 6 of Cups in reverse, that one's been a little bit present. It's a difficult relationship to the past or from the past, sometimes like from a difficult childhood. Let's see. Death card in the upright. Remember, death is about new beginnings. It is about transitioning to a different form. Death is like an illusion in that our consciousness just moves into a different form of reality, and like it is everything blissful in love, yes. Is it more complicated than that? Yes. It's like we want simplistic answers to like what we are, what life is, what this form is, what the point of all this is, and it's not a simple thing. We can only understand it from our perspective here, and to try and understand that whenever a spirit is trying to be in contact with you, there's a point to it. There's a point to it. 4 Swords in reverse. This is interesting because I don't think you know this person is gone. 8 of Cups in reverse. 7 of Cups in reverse. Hanged Man in reverse. Reversals are not bad. 10 of Cups in reverse. I can always, whenever I've got a bunch of reversals down, I can hear people, oh, it's a lot of reversals. Reversals are just, it's a different meaning. It's not, it doesn't, every reader has a different relationship to their cards, and reversals are not negative. Okay, so this is the pile of, this is someone you knew from childhood. I do not think you know that they are no longer with us. Like, honest to goodness, you knew them in childhood. They were not nice to you. Like they were a child at the same time. They had a lot of issues. Like a lot of issues. Like they didn't know how to handle anger. Like they were a little bit mean-spirited. They had a very awkward developmental stage, and that was when you knew them. And like I said, I don't think you know this person is gone because you did not keep in touch. They're a spirit that is around you. When I said it's more complicated than like it's all love, like when people like really have some karma that they want to release, they'll stick around. And this person's spirit, they died in a motorcycle accident, by the way. They died in a motorcycle accident, probably like right around the end of college because they were 22, 23. They did go to college, they did not graduate. You did not know them. It's unlikely that you knew them at that particular point. Boy, they've had to watch the lives of the people that they hurt over and over again. Like I said, it's a little bit more complicated than all that remains is love. Like sometimes people have a disincarnate experience where they're trying to release earthbound karma so that they don't carry it forward to their next lifetime. That is what is going on with this particular person. They caused you suffering. Like they either teased you relentlessly or they helped others tease you relentlessly, but like they really impacted, like I want to say, your self-image. This person's energy remains behind as a facilitator of all things that like trying to bring you more joy, more celebration, more everything. I explained this to another pile. Please stop thinking this spirit can only be in one place interacting with one person at one time. Our consciousness doesn't work that way any longer after we're gone. We're tied to a corporeal body, which means that we are physically present only in one place. And it has a tendency to define how we think the spirit realm will function. It does not function that way. So, like, since time does not really exist, a spirit can be in multiple different places interacting and accomplishing different things. This person is not like damned to hell or something, I don't know how else to put it, but their spirit willingly remained behind because they did not choose well in life on every single level, including whatever ended up killing them, where I think it was a motorcycle accident. They just were very reckless with themselves and with other people's feelings as well. You did know them. You may not have known them very well. They simply had regrets over pain that they caused you. And their function as a spirit that remains behind is to try and connect people to the things that will make them happier. Here's a for instance, if somebody made you cry a lot, or even occasionally, or just deeply, one of the functions that they might have as a spirit that is visiting you is to try and bring you the counterbalancing emotion, usually times 10. So that, like, as much pain as they might have caused you, like, they don't feel like they can let go of the burden until such time as they have brought you resulting joy. So they just want, like, to help you be happier and to be, like, well, and to, like, they try to make you laugh. I have a feeling they made other people laugh at you at a particular point, and that they really regret that part. But, like, they weren't very mature in their life, and that's the thing that they want you to understand, that it's like, gosh, they're sorry, but they were also just a stupid kid at the time. And, like, kids are not stupid, it's just this particular person was like, they were careless with others. And ultimately careless with themselves. The Fool in reverse, yep. With the Strength card in reverse as well. They have a message for you about your future and, like, happiness coming to you again in your personal area of life. Like, your world is expanding more and more. They will not be with you much longer. It's part of the reason that they're kind of using an opportunity to be like, hey, you can probably kind of identify who I was if you really start thinking about it. Because they bullied you. They bullied you. They bullied you or teased you so much that it felt like bullying. Water rabbit, that's the sweetness of quiet love. I cannot stress enough how the lengths I go to make sure I mix up these decks in between. And, like, I'll literally cut it and reinsert it someplace, so there's no way that the reason I'm going into that, a different pile got that. So the sweetness of quiet love. They are trying to let you know that, like, they do everything they can. You mean something to them, because one of the lessons that they had to learn in their departure from this existence was how much, like, their callousness towards other people's feelings actually injured others. And it is something they've had tremendous, like, they want to do better in their next lifetime. And so they just kind of stick with you to try and be the thing that cheers you up, to help you laugh. They do not feel thwarted or, like, cheated by their life. And they did depart, they left this earthly realm at a young age. That they don't feel cheated. They really, like, from their perspective where they are, they know that their death was actually brought about by their own poor actions. So death, poor actions, leading to a lack of emotional fulfillment. They took too many risks. They were very careless with your feelings when you did know them. And, like, it's not, please don't get creeped out when you hear that, like, what, I never even thought of that person after, like, whatever it was, grade school, high school, whatever it might have been for you. It doesn't mean they've been spying on you. It doesn't mean that there's been anything that has been untoward in their attention towards that. It's just that they have kind of a itinerary for their afterlife, and they have to make things up to people by their own choice. There's no authority making them do it. Whew. So they have to make up for their actions in life. This one's a little bit of a hard one because you have, like, I'm not going to say many positive associations with this person. They were like, there's one thing they want you to understand is like, because they did pick on you, they were compensating for like a big insecurity that they had around, I believe, their size. I don't know if they were like underdeveloped or what, but like they became like the class clown type of energy. And so they were always, 1, 2, 3, I don't know. This is just a hard one. This is just a hard one because this person, this energy, like they don't, I mean, you can go to a spirit meeting and try and connect to them if you want, but like they're just trying to help you be happier. They're trying to let you know that like if you believe in like manifestation and magic, it will work. It just will help in the right time. The quiet love is that they're just part of a network of spirits that tries to help and support you. Their feeling of like wanting to compensate you almost, like for like their, okay, here's what happened with this person. Like they were just the class clown. They were like the compensating for their own insecurities. They didn't have a strong sense of empathy because like nobody does at that particular age. After they died in an accident when they were, again, 22 or 23 years old, what happened to them is they saw the greater picture of the lives of the people that they had injured. And the magnitude of like, oh no, we know that old saying like, hey, you never know what someone's going through, so always approach other people with kindness. They learned that in a really harsh way where they did not understand how much they were contributing to existing pain in somebody else's life. And they never meant it with that level of malice. They just didn't, but like they're kind of stuck with the karma around it. So they're there and they try and facilitate like your success, your ability to laugh. Like they try and make funny things happen around you. They they guide you while you're like shopping and things for things that like it's all very visual for them. They're trying to bring like happiness, bubbliness, joy. They want to compensate you in a way that like tries to make up for how indifferent they were to the idea that they were hurting now. Maybe in a way that would keep going. They wish they'd made better choices. A metal rabbit, a state of graceful movement. And then metal tiger, release your attachments. There's a white tiger on it. There's a very extensive guidebook in this. I'm an intuitive and a keyword reader, so the way that I read is from the imagery and from the statements on cards. They facilitate as much as they can in your life. They are a form of guide. You do like they influence your, like that sounds terrible, like but they're the funny thoughts that you have sometimes that crack you up, like that's them. They were a very, very funny person. And they didn't use it well when they were young. And it's weird because like they stopped seeing you at all for some reason. Like either you went to different schools or there was just something there that there was a change that like you were gone from their life. And they got older and they did have regret. They did have regret before they even died. The thing that the spirit wants you to know, because the spirit's like right here and it's a little bit weird, quite frankly, it's a little bit like it's making me like, how do I phrase this for different people? And like, how can this be true for more than one person? There are repeating energy signatures. It's almost like we all live within programs. But the spirit, they just want you to be happy. And they do try and like make you see the funnier side of things. If they had lived, they would have sought you out again. That's how bad they felt at different points. But they didn't make good choices around their feelings, and they technically left this earthly plane before their brain had fully finished forming, which happens to us around the age of 25, which is about our impulse control. So like if this person could have made it to like 30, 35, like they would have been like, I should seek them out. Like to a lot of people, just to a lot of people. They had a lot of forming regrets when they were killed, because they were killed. They slipped on a road, by the way. I don't think alcohol was involved. The Green Man, the forces of nature favor you. Every single pile has been about, please get to the elements, please. Oh, that makes sense with we're using the 5 elements deck. I really like this deck. Like I said, it has a guidebook. I don't get anything if you order it, but I did interview Vicky, and like she's truly connected, and I really feel like it's a, if you like to collect decks, it's got a good place in your repertoire. Release your attachments. That's going into nature is the thing that helps the most of that. And the state of graceful movement, for me, that's being in flow. It has this partial moon behind it, which is one of the manifesting energies. The figure is playing a flute as well. Remember, dancing is one of the ways that you can increase your ability to manifest. Honest to goodness, putting on headphones, dancing around, it increases your magical flow. This particular spirit, like they just kind of want you to know, like they're far from alone. Here's an image that they're trying to give me. It is a small theater with all of these people in the seats, and there is a stage, and there is a spotlight on the stage. And in the spotlight stands you. And instead of you performing for the audience is there to support your performance. And that's what they want you to start thinking of the spirits around you as being. When people talk about their spirit guides, like they get it into their head that they have like 4 or 5 and that's it. Think like, you know, a cast of thousands type of things in terms of as the need arises, it will be met by the correct spirit. This particular spirit tries to like intercede and lighten your mood whenever it can. There is no greater attachment than the idea that they had regret around, like they understood how much more was going on in your life. And just like the horror of being like, oh Lord, I contributed to that rather than in any way. Because they alleviated their own pain by making other people laugh, it became particularly difficult for them to understand that they caused you pain that just carried on and on and on sometimes. The minstrel, let your intentions be known. The stars, a long journey brings rewards. Error, seek a union of mind and spirit. So every single pile has gotten this same find a way to connect type of energy. To understand that like you really are surrounded and supported. This spirit came through not because they're so super connected to you, because like again, I think that you've probably figured out who it likely might be, but like you're not positive because like this is a person who you went your separate ways. Because as far as I know, you really don't know that this person is gone. They want you to know that every single moment that contains a difficult emotion has the ability to call forward a supportive energy. Think of that audience again, and the audience is there to support you. When you have an emotional upset, when you're struggling, it can be anger, it can be sadness, it can be any form of attachment, ground in the way that you can, and that can be eating, it can be showering, it can be walking, it can be dancing. It's to help you get into your body and then find a way to connect. And please don't forget the importance of releasing energies, of doing attachment removals, of doing cord cutters. Sound Energy Alchemist has a good attachment removal as well. I recommend them. Do some work on releasing some attachments because it seems like that for this particular pile, you have a tendency towards maybe ruminating and brooding, that like having a process around it would help. And that to remember, sometimes all you have to do is to call out for help in that area. Help, I'm really sad. Can you figure out a way to help me be happier? Please guide me towards a choice that will help alleviate this. Like, these are, like, you can, before you sit down to meditate, and like meditation is a very important thing. I understand it's so difficult for some people. I did a podcast on how to meditate if you're anxious or have depression or a focus problem is really what it's about. And there is a method, and it will work for you. You just have to lean in on doing it and knowing that like it will feel pointless and futile the first few times, and then it will start making you recharge, and then it will help you start releasing, which is that the releasing energies, release your attachments to outcomes, but also to the discordant energies that sometimes attach to your more difficult or darker emotions. You take some steps to release that. This particular spirit, like, you were never going to be besties. Like, this person, like, I don't know how else to put this other than, like, this person wasn't going to be in love with you at any point. They just had regret. And that's not to say you're not lovable. It's just that, like, that's not their motivation. Like, that it's important for them to know that, like, there wasn't, for you to know that there isn't a form of personal gain that they ever foresaw in their regret. They just had regret. Their role here is to remind you that you are surrounded by all sorts of consciousness and spirits and energies that, like, it's almost like a dial-up menu where you can be like, yeah, I'm selecting that for my Instacart. I need alleviation for depression. But the thing that you have to do is take the steps within the earthly realm to connect to that energy. You can summon it. This abracadabra with wings, which is fantastic good fortune and lucky chances. You can summon it, but you have to make take the steps yourself to connect. That, like, sometimes what you don't realize that when you're really stuck in your feelings, because I have that, like, you ruminate just a little bit sometimes, and it's not a criticism. It's just like, you know, I do it too. Like we all do it. We all get stuck in our feelings sometimes. And the thing to do when that happens is to not, like, deny your feelings. Like, understand that you're having them, and then take steps to bring in a different energy. And that's what the connecting with elements and the being in a state of graceful movement and in flow. And the sweetness of quiet love. Even if you feel like nobody ever loved you in your developing years, we are always surrounded by the love of those who came before us. And it's not just our relatives in a bloodline. It's an energetic signature for that collective. You always have help available to you. When they say you're never alone, you're literally never alone. You're literally never alone, not in a we're spying on you way, but in the if you need help, give a holler, we'll be there kind of way. But you have to participate in it. It's very hard for them to break through in this reality, so they need you to take the steps to connect within this reality. And part of that connection is in mastering a way to meditate that works for you. Awaken the magic of your creativity. Immerse yourself in the world of feelings. Release your creative energies, make use of them in your life. A lot of creative energy here. You are experiencing a spiritual blossoming. Take a new direction, be open to new experiences. Make sure you do it when you're protected and grounded and having clear detachments and all that kinds of things. But please try to find a place, preferably in nature if you can. If you can't, it's okay. You can do it from home. To try and connect. Connect in a protected and a cleared space, and ask for the help that is always there trying to reach you. This was an interesting spirit because he's like a representative like of like the guild or something, because the energy around this is, you don't think of this way because you think that you're like trudging around the road by yourself sometimes, but literally there is no end nor limit nor definition around the number of things that you can call on to help you. And that essentially, like, everything in the world wants to help you be happy. Everything in the world wants to help you be happy. But one of the first things that you have to do is accept that happiness can be mine if I go towards it as well. And it will not be a linear journey. And it's okay if I have bad days and sad days and mad days. But what I have to do is take the correct steps to find my way back to the happy path, because I deserve to be happy. And that spirit, like I said, like, they're not, like, their emotional connection to you is in this really very, like, interestingly detached yet also terribly invested energy. they couldn't undo something, but they can do a lot more than you think. They're just asking you to participate. And how about inviting that energy in through sound healings, through meditation, through taking the appropriate steps within the 3D to create the energy. Whenever you try to create energy, it will come towards you in an increased form. When you try to connect and you invite more towards you. Okay, so that was your reading, pile number 4. I hope it was helpful. If you want to book me for a private reading, at therisingmoon.com is the only way to do so. I have a Patreon as well with daily spiritual guidance if you would like to join that. It has a Spirit Guide Daily Monday through Friday, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care and be well.